No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Something is about to break.
Hey everybody, welcome to About to Break. I'm your host, Taylor Hughes. I hope that everybody...
When I'm not talking.
What?
Is this a bit when I'm not supposed to talk?
Yeah, this is the bit where you're not supposed to talk.
Sorry, start again.
Hey everybody, welcome to About to Break. I'm your host, Taylor Hughes.
Yeah, he is.
I hope you're all staying safe and staying home and, definitely trying to get this thing over with as soon as possible. I'm so excited today on the show I guess it was, let me think now. It would have been a little over 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago in February.
Yes, in February.
This is great. I love that you're here to verify all this.
You start again and I won't talk.
No, this is in the show now. This is it now.
Now we seem unprofessional.
We are unprofessional. We're all out of work.
Yeah, but we don't want them to know that.
Well, they're going to, what do they think? They think that like teachers are, all out of jobs, but magicians are just crushing it. Talk about non-essential.
I was feeling bad about the fact that, everything has gone, like, no matter where you think you are in the showbiz ladder, you got no gigs. Like James Corden is sitting at home right now on the couch.
Right.
That guy's like the king of Hollywood.
Oh, my guest on the show this week is brilliant magician all the way from Preston, UK, England. And he was just an acquaintance through Facebook a couple years ago, and I'm happy to say that now he is closer than a brother. And I can only really say that because I don't have a real brother, but he is the closest thing I got to a brother. My buddy, my dear friend, my not soulmate. What's the other one? Kindred spirit.
Gosh,
Mr. Mark James. Everybody, let's welcome him.
Hey, friends.
They're all applauding at home in their kitchens. They're banging their slippers together.
This is the first time we've ever done a podcast where we guarantee everybody listening to this is wearing pajamas.
That's true. That's true.
Because everybody's just wearing pajamas every day.
You know what's crazy is we have to do laundry like every other day now, not because we're out of clothes, but because we're out of pajamas.
Yeah, you just wear the same thing, and now
you're like, I'm not going to put jeans on. I put jeans on the other day. It felt like I was putting my legs in a vice.
Yeah, that is a bad idea. I put on my jeans the other day from when I was 15 years old, or at least that's how it felt.
We were talking before we started recording about how you and I have both been encouraging each other this whole last year. We've been walking a ton. We've been losing weight. We've been on it. And since quarantine has come, it's been a little lax.
Let's go back. So this is my third time on this podcast now across 2 years.
It's true, yeah.
So the first one was 2 years ago in February. How we actually met was that I performed at the Magic Castle.
That's right.
And I had been listening to your podcast as a big fan. You had some great guests on. I liked the way that you interviewed people. I thought, this guy seems cool. I later found out the truth, but let's not worry about that now. I sent you a message, just reached out and said, I'd love to come on the podcast. And you said, okay. And you had me on. And we had such a great time. We became friends.
We recorded after your show at the castle. You were doing late parlor, so it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We were at the fabulous Nirvana Hotel. Apartment building that the castle owns some apartments at. It was great.
And we recorded so late for hours.
It was like 2.5 hours.
We became friends in the interim. Well, actually, we stayed friends because that week you performed in Vegas covering for Jeff Savillico the week after.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And I came to Vegas because I'd never been there before, and we went to see David Copperfield together.
Oh, that was so great.
And I went to see your show, and I loved it. And I was relieved because I really liked you as a person, and I thought if you were a terrible performer, we could be friends. And I was happy to find out that you were a great performer, so then we could be friends.
Isn't that the toughest, though, when you meet somebody and you like really like talking to him about magic, and from like a philosophical standpoint, you're like, this guy knows what he's talking about, and then you see their act, and it's just hack. Like, it's just...
It's funny you say that because I think I used to feel that way, definitely. And there is merit to that. But also, like, not everybody that trains world-class athletes is a former world-class athlete themselves.
That's true, yeah.
And, some of the people who write the best textbooks on magic, like I just was watching, we're recording this on the same night the Vanishing Ink are doing their Share Magic convention on
That's
YouTube.
right, yeah.
And Pete McCabe, who wrote Scripting Magic, was commenting a lot about different things. And he is himself not a professional magician, and yet his book is like seminal for magicians. So I keep forgetting that this podcast is not a magician's podcast. So for the people who are not magicians.
No, but a lot of magicians listen to it as well.
Yeah, well, this guy Pete McCabe wrote this book about scripting tricks.
It's not, Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people that translates to a lot of different industries. I mean, you mentioned sports, but I'm sure there are people who are experts on certain topics, but they don't practice those topics. I have a buddy he's just got hired. I don't know if I can say that. I have a buddy who's like an expert in science that's not a scientist. But he just loves science and like devours it. And so he knows all about science, but he's not a scientist, and he doesn't work in a lab, and he doesn't do that kind of stuff. But like he works with like movie companies, like consulting for the science in their movies.
Well, I think that you can have great conversation about a thing without necessarily being good at that thing yourself. Having said that, if you meet someone and you realize immediately in the way that we did that you wanted to be great friends with them because we got on so well.
Right.
It is a relief to find out that they're a great performer, because you don't want to spend the next 2 years watching video of their shitty act and pretending that you like it.
And they keep saying, what do you think about this? And you're like, oh
God, I got to watch this again.
Where do you even buy feather flowers today?
Yeah, and you don't watch it because you just message them back like, that was great. Yeah. And they're like, what was your favorite part? And you go, it was all good. And they're like, I can't believe you didn't mention the bit where the elephant appeared. You're like, holy shit, an elephant appeared at the end, and you have to go watch it. Like that thing in Friends where Chandler doesn't watch Joey's ad reel.
Right.
And it turns out to be really good. So I think there's that. I think if you're going to be friends with someone, the best friendships come from a mutual respect of, enjoying what each other do. It's certainly been a strength in our friendship that when you're talking to that person about if nothing else, it stops them from being a hypocrite, because actually you don't need to be a long distance runner to train a long distance runner. But if you're going to lecture your friend about doing original material, but your own act is full of hack material, then that argument has no legs.
Right.
So it was a relief to see your act and find out that you were so great. And then so we became friends off the back of that.
Yep.
Then a year later, we recorded again.
Yep. And then we became more than friends.
Yeah, and then we sealed the deal one night. Took me to third base and beyond. And you came to England even.
Yeah.
You came to my house.
You came and stayed. You came to our house. You stayed with us at our house. You brought a suitcase. You stayed in our house. You brought a suitcase full of chocolates and tea, and my kids were just so delighted. My daughter Kennedy still talks about the chocolate that you brought and how much better it is than the chocolate we have here, like real milk chocolate from England.
All American food is better than British food, except chocolate.
Yeah.
British chocolate is just better. I don't know why, it's just better. But British people haven't really grasped the incredible link between chocolate and peanut butter.
Oh, yeah. What a combo.
That's not much of a thing here, I know.
Oh, like a Reese's? Yeah. Like you don't have Reese's the peanut butter cups?
Like, yeah, we have them, but they're not popular.
They're not popular. Wow.
No.
If only people knew.
People don't really eat that. But so there you go. So we stayed friends, and here we are. And then weight loss wise, I mean, during that time, since you first met me until now, I lost like 125 pounds.
That's crazy.
But I put like 50 of them back on in the last 2 weeks. Maybe not 50, but god damn, I am heavy right now.
I know, I feel so gross. I feel so horrible. Gross. Well, and I've been getting a lot of stuff done around the house. Like, obviously, what else is there to do? So, like, I've been doing house projects and building stuff with the kids and making tons of videos online and all this stuff. But I'm just eating constantly. Like, I'm feeding my body as if I am training for a fight with The Rock. Like,
I eat every meal like I'm on death row. Like, I only want to eat my favorite thing every time. As soon as I think, I'm not even like, oh, have we got that in? If we don't have the thing and I think of something that I want to eat, I'm straight to the store. It's like I might die. Things are I mean, obviously every country has different things of how strict the lockdown is at the moment. We have a store on the corner of our road. You're pretty much allowed to go to the store and get food, but
Right.
you can leave the house for exercise and things. I mean, in Spain, you can't really leave the house at all.
At all, yeah. Yeah.
In Sweden, they're just running life as normal at this point. I mean, right now, as we record, the 5th of April, Sunday evening, Sweden, aside from the fact that gatherings over 50 people are banned, everyone's just going about their business.
What?
People are still doing gigs.
In
Shows
Sweden?
are still happening. Yeah, man. Shows have under
Has it just not gotten there, not hit there, or what?
They have numbers too. Like a ton of people are getting it. Some people are dying, but they're saying we're going to stick with it. And the crazy thing that Britain was saying at first about herd immunity and enough people getting it that it would suddenly make everyone sort of immune.
Right.
That's what they're sticking with. And they're basically the last country to say we're just going to keep doing this.
Ah,
Yeah.
wow.
It's pretty wild. So who knows? I mean, it's quite a social experiment. Maybe in 2 years we'll look back and they'll have been right and we'll have been wrong.
Yeah. We'll look at the numbers and we'll be like, in 2020, X amount of people died from COVID-19. In 2021, all the rest died from diabetes.
God.
from eating all the food.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I remember speaking to you a couple of weeks ago, and LA kind of went first, right? LA locked everything down before everywhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think LA, San Francisco was the very first, and then, and Seattle, and then LA, I believe, was third. But, like the news every day is like LA has got a A+ rating when it comes to social distancing, which is crazy because everyone thinks of LA as this packed place with tons of people, but everybody's just like, oh yeah, we get it. Let's just all play by the rules, for the most part.
I think Californians in general are super health conscious anyway.
Yeah, for the most part. Well, it's because everyone's in the business and trying to be TV ready. But I wonder, it's going to be funny when this is all over. how many people,
Dude, you know what? All you got to do right now is just stay on track and not put weight on. Don't worry about working out. You ever heard that phrase, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king? You heard that phrase?
Yeah.
Well, in the land of everyone putting on 50 pounds, the dude who keeps his weight the same is going to look like a movie star at the end of this.
Yeah.
All you got to do is just stay the same way.
Just maintain. That should be our T-shirt. We could sell that. We could sell a T-shirt that says "Just maintain."
Yeah, just let everyone else's numbers go up around you. You stay right where you're at.
Oh my goodness. Goodness.
So 2 weeks ago, I remember you telling me like everything's cancelled. You called me up and you told me like the financial number of how much money you lost in like 20 phone calls, and I wanted to cry for you.
Oh, it was awful. It was awful. Yeah.
But I still had shows. Like nothing was cancelled at that point. And then the next day after that phone call, a few things got cancelled. And then the day after that, everything else got cancelled.
That's crazy. Yeah, in a matter of 3 days, I lost like 5 months of income in 3 days.
Yeah. Well, between you losing your gigs and me losing mine, I did 5 more shows in that week. And then everything got cancelled. But I knew by the third show that I was only going to do 2 more, and everything after that was cancelled. Like in England, they said, right, everything's closing on Friday, and this was on the Wednesday.
Wow. So you knew it was over, but you still had a couple shows you had to do.
Still had to do 2 more. And it's funny actually, because even now, like even if you wanted to do shows, everybody's attitude is basically on the same page now, because my show, after they said that everything was going to close, I think people got this thing of like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty serious. Because when I was going up to people to say hello, people were on vacation where I was performing, and I said, you're having a good week? And they all were saying, no, we feel really guilty about being here.
Yeah.
These were people who set off for that vacation and got there on the Monday.
Right.
But on the Monday, it was like, okay, everything's still going to happen. School's going to be open. Everything's going to be fine. We're just going to take these measures. And then on the Tuesday, they said, right, we're closing the schools. But all of these people were already on that vacation.
Right.
And then for us, like we had this 5 p.m. Thing every day that the Prime Minister was doing a news conference. And every single day, it just got worse. Like on the Friday, they said, in 10 weeks, when the peak comes, we're going to look at closing schools. And then on Tuesday, they said, we're closing schools tomorrow.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's been a big thing, obviously, is the miscommunication on a governmental level. And the fact that like, this is something that's affecting the whole world. But for a time, every country was handling it their own way. There wasn't this kind of global, hey, this is what we all need to do, you know, which is wild because it seemed like from the onset, the experts in the health world and in the medical and science world were kind of saying the same thing, like,
well,
distance.
I mean, there's a thing here, isn't there, in that science is not dictated by government or like facts are facts. Like whether you're religious or not, you know, that Ricky Gervais made this point once, which I thought was quite fascinating, which was that if you blanked everybody's memory of both religion and science in 1,000 years, all of the religions would be different, but all of the science would be exactly the same. Because it would come back exactly the same as we found it now.
Right. Yeah.
Because, you know, and that doesn't necessarily discount religion, you know, that like, that it just means that people's adaptations or vision of what things mean would be different.
Right.
But science would still be science because those things do not change. So I think if you're a scientist in, you know, Bolivia, or you're a scientist in America, or you're a scientist in the UK, what it means to stop this virus is always going to be the same.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, our prime minister tonight has gone to hospital because of his symptoms.
Oh, so really? I didn't hear that yet.
Yeah, I didn't tell you this yet. I forgot to say. I think we're now the first.
Because he's had it for a week.
He's had it for a week. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think we're the first world leader to have our prime minister is the first world leader to be hospitalized.
Wow.
So
now, how does it work in your country? Because there's no like vice prime minister. Who's the next in line?
Well, it's funny because I was talking to a friend about this. I'm fascinated by, I mean, as you know, I'm fascinated by American politics specifically. Right. And I love TV shows like Designated Survivor and things that focus on. I love The West Wing is like, I think, the greatest TV show ever made, no question. And I love things that focus on. So Designated Survivor is about continuation of government.
Right.
And,
yeah.
When everyone goes to the State of the Union, a few people are left behind in case of a catastrophic event so that they can then form
and that very thing happens. Spoiler alert, first episode.
Yeah. It happens in like the first 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
But I mean, when Kiefer Sutherland is in it and he's like an agriculture minister, you know he's going to get a better job straight away. You know, there's no spoiler alert. He's on the poster. Like, he's going to get a better gig. You know, when some tiny part like walks into a movie, you know, it seems like someone unimportant. You see someone across the office and it's Angelina Jolie. You think, well, she's going to be in it.
Yeah.
Like, she's not just sitting in the background for no reason.
This is like the old thing on Star Trek where they have like one of the main characters and then someone you've never seen before with a bunch of dialogue is going outside the spaceship. You know that person's about to die.
That person is dead. And the person who's famous is going to live.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm fascinated by that whole thing. And obviously in America, you have that set up. And I mean, the idea that, Donald Trump, when he's traveling in Air Force One or any of that stuff, there's like a surgeon on board. They have like pints of his blood ready to go if he needs it. All of that stuff. The way that they take care of that world leader, I mean, the way that you guys specifically in America take care of your world leader is phenomenal. I mean, it's leaps and bounds above every other country. In Britain, I don't think that same sort of thing exists. I mean, if there are nominated people that will take over the government, you know, but there's no deputy prime minister necessarily.
So, like, if something happens to the prime minister, you just don't have a prime minister until they vote a new one, or?
Pretty much, yeah. There's like a leadership race that takes place on who that will. I mean, everyone kind of knows who it's going to be.
Your government, whenever we talk about government a lot with each other, and so it's usually you trying to explain to me. But between like your government and then the royal family, I feel like anytime you describe it, it sounds like you're giving like clues to a riddle in like a Lord of the Rings, like go find this man with the shepherd's crook, and then he's going to give 3 gold coins to this old lady.
Yeah, but that's how I feel when Americans talk about measurements. Like how long is that? How big is an iPhone? Well, it's sort of 3 bottle caps and a quarter of a finger. That's how long it is. And how wide is it? Well, if you get a wooden spoon and you put a piece of cheese on the end of it, it's about that sort of wide. It's like nothing makes sense. Like, get the metric system. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, I don't know why we're still holding out on that. That, and we refuse to call soccer football.
And aluminium.
And
I think
aluminium, yeah.
Aluminum.
You sent me a thing this week, a meme that's been going around where it's like British people are like, I'm British.
Oh yeah, the one word we cannot say is the word of what we are.
Right.
I am British.
British.
Yeah, the T appears to be silent.
Yeah.
I like when I'm in America. I told you I use your name in Starbucks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I told you this already. I sent you a picture of my cup, didn't I, with Taylor written on. Because when I'm in Starbucks and they say, "What's your name?" and I say Mark in the way that I would say here, they go, "Sorry, what?" and I say Mark, and they go, "What?" and I go, Mark, and they go, "Oh, Mark, okay, cool," and they write it on the cup.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, hey, Mark. So I got sick of that. So now when it's like, "And what's the name?" I go Taylor. Always. So I've had like a bunch of Starbucks cups in the US with Taylor written on in your honor.
Oh, I do feel honored. I do feel honored. You know, it's funny you don't say the T in British.
Yeah.
But when it comes to saying herbs, that H is so hard.
Oh, dude, and HBO.
HBO, yes. HBO.
HBO, yeah, herbs. We definitely say herbs. And we don't say the tea in British, but we drink a bunch of it.
Right. Yeah, that's why you saving the tea for... Do you still do like a tea time? Is that like a real thing ever? Like, you don't ever just go like, oh, it's time for my tea.
Well, I mean...
Big Ben rings, Big Ben chimes, and you hear it all over the whole country, right? And everyone has...
You know, Big Ben is just the bell.
Yeah, it's not the building.
It's not the building, it's just the bell.
What is the building?
I should know that, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that.
Huh.
I'm always amazed when you meet someone in a foreign country. Like, so obviously us as magicians, we travel all over the world frequently.
Right.
And, you know, I'm in a car
remember
with,
that?
like, a local magician. Yeah, I know, right? Do you remember when you used to do magic tricks?
Remember when we used to travel the world? This is a great time to plug our Patreon. It's patreon.com/about-to-break. And for as little as $1 a month, you can buy me some mayonnaise. We're almost out of mayonnaise. That is our grocery money. And it also goes to support the show. We should
rename it to About to Be Broke.
Yeah, I should just name it. I should just rename the podcast to We've Arrived.
We've arrived.
We are all broken. Broken.
Whenever I'm in like a different country with a local magician, you know, like maybe they pick me up at the airport, I'm going to do a lecture or something in another country.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh, this place is pretty nice." And immediately they're always like, "Yeah, we have a population of like 6 million people. That building over there was the first building." I'm like, how do people know all this stuff about where they live?
Right.
I don't know the population of the town that I live in. I don't even know how many people live in this house all the time. Let alone how many people live in my town. But everyone's like, I remember I went to Iceland once, and this great guy, Gunnar Sigurd Jonsson, he sent me a message.
Look, if you don't know his name, you don't have to make up one.
That's his name, man. If you might listen to this podcast. If you do, Gunnar, hello. He picked me up, and he was like, he sent me a message saying, "Oh, I saw that you're coming to Iceland on a cruise ship," because he was friends with me on Facebook. And he said, "I'd love to like hang out with you and just show you around Reykjavik." And I said, "Okay, cool." Like, I looked him up. I asked a few of our mutual friends, like, "Do you know this dude?" Because you don't want to turn up and they're like, you know, they say, "Smell this," or "Drink this drink," and then you wake up and they're leering over you saying, "I'm going to wear your skin as a mask."
Yeah.
So you don't want to be, you know, some victim. But anyway, he's the nicest guy. And he meets me, takes me on a tour, tells me all about the buildings, all the different stuff. Then he's like, "Oh, see that hot dog stand over there? You can order a hot dog there. It's called the JFK." Because he visited Finland in 1948 or whatever. And he had this hot dog with a certain topping. And now they put that topping on exactly what he had. And it's still called the JFK.
That's crazy.
Like, how do people know all this stuff?
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
Well, when so you stayed at our house, which was lovely. And then maybe 6 weeks after that, we came to the UK for the first time, and we came to your house. We spent a day with you. And you and Sarah took us around, Katie and I, we had a blast. It was just a wonderful day. We ate all the things, but you knew everything. You were showing us everything. And this is the name of that, we did the unofficial Beatles tour.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So
we did like a $400 Beatles tour in 15 minutes. You're like, here's all the stuff.
Well, I don't. So I'm a huge music fan, and I collect vinyl records. You know this, but for anyone who's listening, I collect vinyl records. I started off as a musician before I was a musician.
Is it funny that we still call them vinyl records? Like I mean, they don't have any latex records. Like there's no other. Why don't we just say records? I collect records.
LPs. Well, I don't know. You could mean Guinness World Records.
Yeah, I collect those. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry. So you collect vinyl records. You love music.
Dude, the hipsters just call them vinyls.
Yeah.
I got some vinyls. Yeah, so I love music, and I'm from England, so the Beatles were huge here.
Right.
But specifically, I live now in the northwest of England. I think maybe that's part of it. I know more about certain places that I've adopted as opposed to places that I'm from, because I'm from the northeast of England, and I don't know that much about there. But because I chose to live here in the northwest instead, I kind of learned a little bit more about that. But it was only that years ago I actually did that Beatles tour, and you go to the houses that they grew up as a kid, and you go to all the significant places that they played gigs and where they formed, and the Cavern Club that was like the legendary place that they performed, and all of those things. And so I did that tour. And then a friend of mine, I took him on it and I researched it. And so then it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So when you came here last year, I still knew all of that stuff. So that's how we did that.
Yeah.
But it was pretty neat.
It was great.
Cool pictures outside of Beatles' houses.
Yeah, we did. And we went down Penny Lane, and you showed me that everything from that song is on that street.
That's right. Yeah. The barbers, the thing in the middle of the roundabout, and the bank, and all of those things. Yeah, the shelter in the middle of the roundabout, the bus shelter, the banker, every single thing from the Penny Lane song. If you stand on Penny Lane, you can see all of the things.
That's so cool. Yeah, I want to go back.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I want to go places again.
Fields. Remember we went to the
we
Strawberry
did.
Fields?
We went to Strawberry Fields. They're doing construction.
Yeah. They were, but they let us through to take a look. We got a picture in front of the gates.
Right.
You can buy those gates, a copy of those gates.
Like the actual gate? A gate?
If you've never seen this and you're listening.
Not like a photo.
Just Google, like anyone who's listening, Google Strawberry Fields gates. You'll see. So Strawberry Fields was like a children's hospital, and the Beatles, they grew up around it. And so the front of it had these huge ornate steel gates. Yeah. And they're kind of, when they look like they've got like rose petals in them and all sorts of different things, but they're huge steel gates. And they look amazing. And now the company, they now sell a copy version of them, so you can get an identical copy of those made for your own, for your house to put in your driveway or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm gonna add that to my list. Once we can pay for health insurance again, I'm gonna. Yeah.
Once you can afford to buy Twinkies again, the gates are coming. Right.
That's definitely number 2 on the list.
Oh, dude, the Twinkie. That was a big day for me. Growing up, being a big fan of movies and like Ghostbusters and all of that stuff. And even Zombieland, thinking like the Twinkie. They didn't sell them in this country for so long.
Till when? Like how long ago? When did the Twinkie make its way?
I think I only saw the first one here like maybe 18 months ago.
No.
Yeah.
So because they went away from us, like they were shutting down, they weren't going to make them, and then somebody else picked it up and started making them.
Maybe they were in like a specialist store, and I've never seen them. Now they're just in the regular store, like the supermarket. You can just get them anywhere now.
Yeah,
but you never could.
Wow.
And so I remember seeing one in America and being like, I'm going to have this. And then I opened it and I took one bite and was like, this is the worst thing I've ever tasted.
This is so gross.
I thought that was the worst food in America until I tried Peeps.
Oh, Peeps are awful. Peeps are awful. You know what is good, though? A Chocodile. Did you have a Chocodile?
No, I never had a Chocodile.
A Chocodile is a Twinkie, but it's chocolate cake instead of the yellow cake. And
that might be okay. And like the syrup, the sponge syrup was no good.
Yeah, no, wait for this. And yeah, it still has the cream filling. But here's the other thing. The outside is coated in like a thick layer of crunchy chocolate.
Okay.
So you have this crunchy chocolate and then there's cake and cream inside. But you put it in the freezer and it gets cold and it's amazing.
Right. Okay. Well, that sounds good. I think we're finding out how we've both put weight on.
I think it's funny, like, because you and I mean, for months and months, we're like, so we were the healthy guys encouraging one another and like getting it. And we'll get back.
Every day, 2-hour walk every day on the phone to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're getting it done, man. We were knocking it out. But it's funny. I think at the end of the day, we're all hypocrites to our own selves. Like, I'm the guy who talks crap about
we're hippopotamuses.
We're hippopotamuses. Like, I am the guy who would tell you McDonald's is not real food. You shouldn't eat it. It's disgusting. It doesn't even taste good. If you offered me a McDonald's cheeseburger, I would be like, get that away from me. But if you offered me
closed now.
But if you offered me a McDonald's double cheeseburger,
yeah.
For some reason I'm like, this one's really good.
Dude, our McDonald's is closed now. Is yours too?
No, drive-thrus. Here's the thing I don't understand. Somebody explain this to me. Drive-thrus in restaurants are still available for takeout here.
Okay, so yeah, some restaurants here are available for takeout, and takeout is available for takeout. But McDonald's, every single one in the whole UK, closed. No drive-thru or anything.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, McDonald's closed. It's like the apocalypse.
This really is. It's starting to feel like Zombieland. When you walk outside, there's nobody out. I mean, that's good. That's good that nobody's out. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying it's eerie because like you walk outside, the sky is still blue, the grass is still growing, the trees are still, there's birds in the sky, and you feel like this should be normal, and yet everything else around us is crazy.
I bet if you bought a double cheeseburger if I bought one before McDonald's got closed and left it on a shelf in my house until McDonald's reopens again and then bought a brand new one and put them next to each other, you wouldn't be able to.
They would look. Yeah. Have you seen that where they put like a Happy Meal out for like a year and it looks exactly the same?
Yeah. It's horrible, but it's so delicious. But it isn't. So
we have not, as of today we're recording this on Sunday. What is the date today, Mark? Sunday, April 5th. So since they mandated that we all stay home, and even before then, we have not eaten out anywhere. We've only made food at home.
Okay.
But I'm bringing this up not to boast. I'm bringing this up to show what a hypocrite we all are. We haven't eaten a single thing out. But we are obsessed with the idea of going and getting a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts. And we've gone 3 different times to try to get Krispy Kreme donuts. And Mark, the line is like, it's no joke, half a mile long.
Wow.
Our Krispy Kreme is in a mall parking lot, and it goes almost all the way around the whole mall, the line.
Krispy Kreme wasn't really a thing here either until like the last year.
Yeah. Well, again, a Krispy Kreme donut cold is garbage. It's junk. But a hot Krispy Kreme donut is like, sorry, I just had a moment with myself when I talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The thing like that is bad. Cinnabon, that is not a good food.
No.
Yeah.
Cinnabon, no. But
CK had a great bit about that, about how he had a Cinnabon at the airport before he got home, and then he's like, "Do you realize how disgusting that is? I had a Cinnabon at the airport that I was arriving at."
Yeah. Yes, so gross, man. But I've done that so many times, haven't you? I've done it with
because we don't have that here.
Not with Cinnabon. I've done it with Annie Ann's pretzels.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dude, Louis C.K. didn't think he was going to be as busy as everybody else for ages, and he was wrong.
Oh my goodness! He just put out a special. Apparently,
no, he did not. Really?
He just apparently just put out a special. I haven't seen it or seen anything of it. I've just seen comedians tweeting about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, let's change the subject.
You want to move on?
I want to move on.
You're gonna write that down to talk about when we're not recording.
Oh no.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what did the guy do?
Yeah, see, this is why I want to move on. I know your opinion of this.
He showed his thing, but he asked first.
No.
Oh, dude, no, it's bad. I mean, yeah, the world
So bad.
The world has reacted correctly. I'm glad actually that these kind of things are coming out, and if nothing else, people who do this kind of crazy thing are learning that behavior is not acceptable.
Right.
Like it should not have taken a basic worldwide a revolution of attitude for people to learn that you can't just whip out your junk in front of people whenever you feel like it. But if nothing else, at least now they know.
We've clarified that.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Oh my
God. Yeah, I know, right?
You're playing with cards. You've been showing me a lot of magic tricks over the interwebs.
Yeah,
which is fun, and I hope you're okay with me saying this, but like we go through ups and downs as magicians when like sometimes we're like really passionate about it, and sometimes we're just like, ugh, I can't stand to like think about it other than the gig, But you're kind of having a renaissance of your passion for card tricks and learning new things.
Well, I think my passion is always high for something. It's just not always high for specific areas of magic.
I see.
Like, it's not necessarily always high for the thing that I do to make my living. So all of my shows are same as you, stage-based magic shows.
Which aren't you glad at this point that you're not a 100% close-up guy?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I haven't done a close-up gig in so long, like years. But I suppose my show is different to yours in that my show is a lot more, I think, would it be fair to say sleight of hand based? Like I tend to choose tricks that are that purposefully use technically difficult things to accomplish them.
Right.
And your show uses
is more less good.
No, not less good. I think I think our strengths are both different in that your strength is that you're able to use people in a really fun way and connect with lots of different people. And I can do that in my show. Like I can get a kid on stage for 15 minutes and have such a fun time with them.
Right.
But I don't like getting too many people on stage. Like in my 45-minute show, I'm going to get one person up onto the stage and that's it.
Well, and I'm glad I recorded a special and I'm glad I did it before this was all happening. But now, I mean, I'm writing a new show and I'm taking a bunch of stuff off the list that involves anybody. Like, I think I'm going to go the route that you've done and just not have anyone else on stage with me for the most part. Because, I think we're going to.
And I just did that because I didn't want to slow things down. Like bringing people up just takes so long. And then sending them back down and, you got to get that person an applause. I think the audience get bored of applauding. And if they've used all of their applause because you've asked them to in order to facilitate bringing people up onto the stage, maybe they don't have as much left when you should just get some for the reason that you actually did a thing that was good.
I feel like magicians asking for applause is the equivalent of Louis C.K. asking permission before doing what he did. When people go along with it, it doesn't mean they wanted to.
That's exactly it. And it's like maybe actually you condition the audience incorrectly in that you ask them for applause for certain things, so they don't clap as much as they might do when you haven't asked them for applause for things when they ordinarily would have realized that was their opportunity to find themselves. I think also as magicians, like the natural reaction to a great magic trick is not applause. So whilst a lot of applause during a show may tell the booker that you did a good job, it doesn't necessarily mean that it was a good magic show.
Right. Yeah.
If someone's sitting in the back room, if it's like, I've heard this talked about a lot, if it's like a comedy club and the booker's sitting in the back and they're not actually watching the show, but they're hearing a ton of audience reaction, that might mean, oh, we'll book this guy again. But it doesn't mean that you're doing a good magic show. Like the reaction to a great magic trick is usually silence, or it's a gasp, or it's murmuring or whatever. People experience it in a different way. So the first thing for me, like, because I haven't always been the way that I am now. My show used to be more like yours, which was more people heavy, and it was more revolved around a fun, interesting story presentation. I didn't do it nearly as well as you, but a story presentation that had a singular main magic moment at the end. And now I kind of prefer to try and mix more of an ethos that you get with close-up magic. Like the thing I like about close-up magic, I don't like doing close-up magic gigs because I don't want to start again 12 times every show.
Right.
Like do like 5 minutes and then move on to the next group.
Right.
And I've got all of the energy from the end of the 5-minute show I just finished.
Right.
But I'm taking it on at the beginning of the 5-minute show I'm about to start. And I'm overwhelming that next audience because they just, hello, nice to meet you. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? Because I just killed with this other audience.
Right.
And like that constant thing of like taking yourself all the way up to the top and then having to drop right back down to start again. I just found that I just couldn't do it. Like it drives me crazy. I don't like close-up magic shows. But what I like about close-up magic is that a lot of magic happens. If you see a stage magician do a 5-minute performance, you might see one magical thing. But if you see a close-up magician do a 5-minute performance, you might see 20 magical things.
Right, yeah.
A bunch of smaller magical things are going to happen, and they'll build to one singular bigger thing at the end. And my favorite kind of magic now is the kind of magic that uses that, but on stage. Because I saw magicians like the Swedish guy called Charlie Caper. Did it really well. And like I saw him doing cards to pocket for people who don't know this, like non-magicians who are listening. Basically, someone signs a card, it's lost in the deck, it jumps into your pocket, then you put it back in the deck, it jumps back into your pocket, and then you put it back in the deck, and you ask the audience member who's on stage with you to reach into your pocket and take out the card, and they can't believe that it would be there. And then when they reach into your pocket, the whole deck is there, and now the only card left in your other hand is the singular card that they chose.
Right.
And it's a really popular trick for close-up magic. But I saw him do it on stage and kill. And it was at the Edinburgh Festival, which is a huge arts festival that happens every year throughout in Edinburgh in Scotland, which I know you visited the place, but not the festival. And I saw his show, and it was full of magic like that. He did this thing where you vanish a wand, and then you take out this little purse from your pocket, and you pull the wand out, and then the purse has vanished, and then there's all these different things. And it was basically like a close-up magic show. But instead of being down on the table, everything was up at chest height, and he was doing it on stage. And the audience were just as engaged as I've seen them for anything.
Oh, that's cool.
And it taught me a few things. Like I used to have this beginning bit in my show where I would do 5 minutes of jokes, and the audience would either like it or they wouldn't. Like whether I had a good gig or not, they liked it or they didn't. Who knows? But I noticed that if I did those 5 minutes of jokes while I was holding a prop, the audience would be way more engaged than when I wasn't. And I think if you're holding a prop, if you're a magician, if you're holding something in your hand while you're talking, the audience psychologically know that something's about to happen.
Right.
They're always aware that if they disengage or they look away or they check the phone or whatever, they might miss the thing that's about to happen.
Right, yeah.
If you're just a guy standing there and you're not holding the thing that you're about to do, they think they can drop out and drop back in, and they probably won't miss anything. And so I started to take the jokes that I'd done in my act previously, but weave them into the presentations of tricks. And then I found that I was adding more magic in through that. And then before I knew it, my show now, I think the magic and the tricks, I've dialed down the comedy a little bit, and I'm much more myself. I don't necessarily do canned, set up punchline kind of jokes.
Right, yeah.
But I do more situational comedy interweaved with a ton of visual magical moments, but still as a speaking presenter of magic rather than a silent performer. And that, I think, for me now works a lot better. But it also means that you have to get way fewer people up onto the stage.
Right, yeah.
And I'm still using volunteers, but I'm letting them stay in their seat. Because the worst thing that ever happens in a magic show for me, I've seen a ton of performers that, I think maybe inexperience makes this happen, but they get a person up on stage with them and they say, can you shuffle those cards? And they do. And they say, okay, take one and sign it. And then they just leave that person standing there for like 10 minutes while they perform the trick.
Yep.
They don't engage or use that person at all.
Right.
And they just become a prop. And I think if somebody's only going to do a singular or two simple things like take a card or shuffle a deck or whatever, just like give the deck to someone in the front row and have them do it.
Right.
And then take it back and like leave them in their seat. Because all of that time when you've got to say, okay, bring this person up on stage, give them a round of applause. And now, thanks so much. Give them a round of applause as they go back. And all of that stuff, just what I would think, I think of it as audience fatigue, like applause fatigue.
Yeah.
You give your audience applause. because you're asking them to clap for things that do not deserve applause.
Right.
And the reason you're asking them to clap for things that don't deserve applause is because you've got nothing interesting to fill the time with while someone just goes and sits down.
That's true, man. Gosh, I'm guilty of that.
Well, the problem is as well, you can't really do anything funny or interesting while someone goes and sits down, because somebody leaving the stage and heading back to their seat is distracting for the audience.
Right.
So you don't want to do something killer while that is happening, because it's pointless.
Yeah.
And you don't want to just have silence. So kind of the only option you're left with is get people to applaud. That'll cover the gap.
You know, we've talked about this, but in magic, there's this saying of like, when you use a volunteer, you need to make them the star of the show. And one of the things that I've thought about even just recently is, you know, because I've lived by that rule of like, if you bring somebody up, you should really like make them, you know, a big part of the show and all of this. But as a performer who's trying to gain an audience and create a career, you should be the star of your show, which is why comedians don't ever bring people on stage, you know? Like, you know, if they're going to engage with someone, they might do some crowd work, but they're not giving someone a mic. You're not seeing that person. Someone's going to shout something out and then they're going to ad lib or improv off it or whatever. But it seems almost counterintuitive to have too many people.
I think comedians have probably the main difference, I think, between comedians and magicians, though, has to be that comedians generally are talking about, I mean, the audience. So for us, there's two types of suspension of disbelief. Like we talk about this concept all the time, suspending disbelief. Right. So when an audience watches a magician, they know that the guy can't really do the thing that he says he's doing, but they're willing to pretend that he can in trade for the fact that that the magician will convincingly make it look as if they can.
Right.
You know, like, okay, we know you can't do that, but we can't tell how you would be doing it, so we're just going to pretend that we believe you can do it. And there it goes. That's suspension of disbelief. Right. Comedians have that too. Like the audience, I think, know that all of the stuff the comedian says is happening to them probably hasn't happened to them exactly like they explain it.
Right.
Like we've all got stories where we know that a thing happened and it was funny, but we tell a friend and then they really laugh. And then the next time you tell a different friend, you tell it slightly different.
Yeah, you accentuate it, yeah.
You learned what made that friend laugh, and maybe they said something to you and you thought, oh, that would be funny. So next time you tell a story, it builds. And actually it gets to the point where you can't remember how it really happened. You just remember the way that you tell it.
Right.
And so I think that happens to comedians too. Like they tell a story about a thing that happened, and then they say, you know, they tell their friend and they said, what I should have said was insert funny comment here. Right. And then by the time that story makes it to the stage, they should have said that.
That's what they said, yeah.
It in the story, yeah. So the audience suspend their disbelief for two reasons. But the critical difference is that when the audience suspends the disbelief for a comedian, the comedian is still talking about themselves and who they are, whereas the magician is talking about themselves and what they can do.
Right.
And so that changes things, I think, in that we're already hostages to our ability, in that you want to get famous for something you can do, not who you are. And I don't think that necessarily, like David Copperfield is the biggest star in magic, but huge amounts of that fame surely comes from people being interested in his personal and romantic relationships and stories from him in the media and you know, all of those different things. Like fame is not just built on ability. People don't just get huge and blow up because of the fact that they can put a card in the middle of a deck and without looking like they did anything, make it jump back to the top.
Yeah.
So this is what I think is interesting about your show, actually, Magic Storyteller. We're chasing wonder. I think what's interesting about it is that you're finding a way to link stories that are really about you into your tricks. Which a lot of magicians don't, and I don't either. Like I'm trying to do that more and more, but a lot of my tricks, like magic tends to function on very clearly made up joke linked with magic trick.
Right.
It's quite rare that people do definitely real sounding story linked with magic trick.
Yeah.
It's way harder to do. Because also, how many stories have you got in your life that like you'll never guess what, you know, you listen to Bill Burr and he tells a story about buying a gun or going on a helicopter trip or whatever.
Right.
How many stories in real life that are like, so I had these 3 sponge balls when I was a kid and, you know, like there are no stories that happen in the grocery store or whatever.
Right.
where the props in magic make any sense.
I went to Home Depot and asked to buy a length of rope, and they gave me 1, 2, 3 different lengths of rope.
And I was like, dude, they all need to be the same length.
Don't worry, I'm a magician.
Yeah. So I think it's very difficult to do that thing where you can tell real stories and link them to magic. And you've done it in your show, definitely. And if, I mean, people are going to see it. It's going to come out at some point. So when the world, I don't know, it's going to come out though, right? They're going to see it.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to jump in there with what I can and can't say.
Oh yeah, no, it is going to come out. We taped a special. I don't know yet where it's going to land, but we are in the shopping phase right now. So it will be.
And it looks amazing.
Oh, buddy, it looks so good.
Yeah, it looks so good. And you tell stories about your childhood, about your kids, about your family, about things that are really happening now, and you link them together with tricks in a pretty seamless way that seems genuine, and that is very, man. Very difficult in magic to do. Thanks, man.
I really wanted people to connect with me as a person, as a performer.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and that doesn't have to be everyone's goal, but that is my goal. And so because that's my goal, I thought I need to tell real stuff about my life so that at the end of the show, they don't just go, oh, that was a great, funny show or whatever. Like they feel like they know me because they really do. They know a little bit more about me than they did when they came in. So, and it also, I feel like it also makes it a lot harder to steal stuff when they're real personal stories,
Yeah.
I could talk about growing up in Kentucky and being best friends with Matt King and, but no one's going to buy it because that's not me.
Yeah. I think for me, my kind of way of trying to get around that, because nobody wants to have the material stolen. So my way of trying to deal with that is that I make all of the tricks in my act linked in some way. Maybe there's a running joke or there's a through line or something, so that you could steal a single piece, but it wouldn't be as strong if it wasn't among the rest of my material.
You wrote a great article or blog about this, about stealing material and basically like, people would have to take your whole act. To take one thing, they'd have to take the whole thing.
So if anybody wants to read my blog, it is magicianmarkjames.blog. That is www.magicianmarkjames.blog. And the most recent one on there is called Originality. And it is about that very thing. It's about, if you make your acts so linked together with running jokes and things like that, it will be very difficult to steal.
Yeah.
It's so funny, good. Actually.
You're a brilliant writer. I'm trying to encourage you to write more and more because you're a fantastic communicator verbally, but like in the written word, you're able to write like first drafts of things that just make so much sense and are so well put.
Well, a friend of mine says to me all the time that I often say opinions as if they are facts with the same, kind of weight as if I'm saying a fact, but it's my opinion. And I'm very so if anybody's listening to anything I'm saying and thinking, oh, that makes sense, don't do it because I just make things up and it sounds like.
This is why I think it's funny because you originally, as a kid, wanted to be a barrister, right? Like you wanted to be a lawyer.
That's right. Yeah.
Is that the word you use, barrister?
There are different terms in the UK, but because we don't have the system where, like, I watch a lot of like Suits and American, TV shows.
Right.
We don't really have a system in the UK where somebody will meet the client, find out about the legal case, do all the digging, go behind the scenes, try to make the deal, realize the deal isn't going to happen, then go to the courtroom and also put the case forward to the jury and the judge and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
In the UK, all of that stuff happens with one person called a solicitor. And then if the solicitor fails and it has to go to the court, then the case is transferred over to a barrister who works with the solicitor. So quite often, like the barrister will get deeply involved in the case at that point. But quite often the solicitor will sit next to the barrister like a junior associate or an associate, and they will say things to the barrister, and then the barrister will stand up and immediately communicate them to the courtroom as if he's known them for 100 years. But he just found it out 10 seconds ago. So it's quite strange that, like, the guy who presents in court he's like the only one who's allowed to talk to the courtroom is the barrister.
Okay.
And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to. But I mean, we wear wigs and everything here,
Right. Oh yeah, Kennedy again loves that. She thinks that whenever we're watching a show and it's like Katie's watching like a British show and they go to court, she just dies. She's like, "What? They all wear those today still?"
Yeah. Well,
Your
it's
country's got
only-
some funny traditions that like very progressive in most things, and then when it comes to certain things, it's just like, "Oh yeah, that's normal."
Yeah. Well,
we have a
court
queen.
But the very highest court, like the most important one, the judge wears like a wig and a gown, and the barristers wear wigs and gowns, and it's pretty serious.
Yeah. Gee whiz. Now, where is
It's
your
not like suits?
where is your queen at now, Mark? She's not in Buckingham Palace. She went somewhere else.
Yeah, she's got. She has a few different residences around the UK that she stays in varying parts of the year. You can tell where she is if she's in Buckingham Palace. They have the flag. Do they do this at the White House too?
I don't know. I think here. Yeah.
Sorry, the delay. If the Queen is in, then the flag is all the way up.
Okay. Yeah.
The flag is at the top of the pole if the Queen is home.
Yeah.
If she's into house, the flag is up.
Okay. And the flag is down if she's not?
The flag is it halfway down?
Half staff, half mass?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just know that if she's in, it's up.
Okay.
Like she can't hide from the neighbors. If they want to come round, they know she's in. The flag's up.
Right. She's in one of these
have any neighbors.
700 plus bedrooms.
Yeah, she's in one of the. She's the hide and seek champion of the world.
She could literally sleep in a different bedroom 2 years in a row without sleeping in the same bedroom.
Yeah, I'll bet there's rooms in there that nobody's ever even been in.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine. I've never been inside. I've been to it many times, but I've never even been in at the grounds.
Yeah.
Did you go to London when you were here?
Yeah. We went.
Yeah.
We stood outside and saw the changing of the guard and all that thing. It was pretty exciting. But we didn't.
It's crazy, right?
It's crazy. They shut down the whole street.
Yeah.
They do it like a couple times a day.
London's quite exciting.
It is. It is very exciting. I'm super distracted. You have a great bookshelf behind you. And I'm playing Got It, Need It, Got It with your books on your shelf. But you have one that I did not notice you having when I was there. It's directly behind your head right now.
What is it? Which one?
Is that really a copy of A Match Made in Space by George McFly?
Oh, this is so funny. Yeah, from Back to the Future.
Yes. I saw that and I'm like, what? Where did you get that?
Yeah, so it's not actually the whole book. It's just a book cover.
Well, yeah, they don't have a real book of it, right?
No, so it's on top of Alan Sugar's autobiography.
Okay.
So if you don't, I don't know if you know who Alan Sugar is, but the Apprentice that Trump was on is based on a British show called The Apprentice, and the guy who was the famous businessman that headed that show that did the same role as Trump is this guy. Alan
Wait,
Sugar.
you mean Donald Trump did not create The Apprentice?
No, it's originally a British show.
What? He's taking credit for something someone else did?
Yeah, so
that's
Steve
very
Carell,
unlike him.
Trump is to Alan Sugar as Steve Carell is to Ricky Gervais.
That's great.
Yeah, so this guy, this dude is like a super famous British businessman, self-made, millionaire.
Yeah, he kind of looks like if Richard Nixon had a face, like did some work on his face. He
does look a bit like that.
Yeah.
And someone bought me this cover. I don't even remember who it was actually. My friend Gareth, I think,
bought
me this.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and it just perfectly fits over this book, so it looks exactly like. I mean, for people who can't.
Oh
see,
yeah, it looks exactly like the book from Back to the Future, which both Mark and I are nerded out fans. We went and saw some Back to the Future houses last time you were in town.
That's right, and I saw the Back to the Future musical the day before it closed.
It was so good, huh?
Dude, it was amazing.
Did they have a flying DeLorean?
Yeah, they had a flying DeLorean created by the Twins FX. It was so amazing.
Wait, the twins, the two magicians?
Yeah, they're like identical twins, and they create effects for magic and magic shows and film and TV and stuff like that. And it was really good. The guy who played Marty McFly is British. I was surprised at the end when he spoke, but he sounded just like Michael J. Fox. In the movie. So
did they do Huey Lewis songs in it?
They did, yeah. They played Huey Lewis songs. I'm just looking actually because I want to find out who played Doc in it because he's an American actor. He was really, really funny. And you'll know who he is. Roger Bart. Do you know who that is?
Roger Bart. Oh,
He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's American. Let me just see what he's been in. He was the original voice that sang Go the Distance in Hercules.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And he's been a voice actor in loads of stuff. He's been Law Abiding Citizen. He's in The Producers. So that's Las Vegas.
Lady and the Tramp #2, Scamp's Adventure.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in The Producers. American Gangster. Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay.
There you go. George Carlin Show. He was he's had quite a career, but anyway, he plays Doc in this thing, and he's brilliant, ridiculously. Oh, there's a thing that people might know. So the Netflix series of A Series of Unfortunate Events. He played Vice Principal Nero.
Cool. Very cool.
That guy, he was so funny. He didn't play it at all so every character plays it just like the character in the movie, except for him. He really plays it like super wild, not an everybody else does like an impersonation of the original character, except him. He plays it just quite crazy, but in a way that,
it still works.
When it first happens, you're like, oh, is this going to be? And then 10 seconds later, you're like, oh, it's such a good decision. So he killed. So I saw that like the day before it closed, and it was brilliant, so amazing. Like such a shame when you think about the work that those people it had been open for 3 days. I saw it.
They've been working on it for what, like 4 years or something.
Dude, who knows? Oh yeah, the producers have been working on it for like 8 years, I think, since they first.
How was the effect of the flying car? Like, it was a pretty cool effect of it flying.
Well, I was in the middle seat of the front row.
Oh, wow.
And it came right out above my head and did a full forward-facing 360.
What?
And Marty and Doc were in it, upside down, waving at me while it was upside down. It was unbelievable.
That's incredible.
Yeah, when it opens up again, it's sure to come to the US, and you've got to see it.
I really hope it does. What's your take here on where we're headed after this, as far as theater? And I mean, because I do feel like there's a sensitivity. I'm noticing even with myself that I'm much more sensitive of how close people are to me, and I just wonder. I wonder how much of that's going to stick when this is. I
suppose it really depends on how it ends. Like, you've got those, for those who cannot see, which I know is all of you, Taylor is currently holding up those little models of Doc
Pops.
and Marty.
Yeah, these are Pops that my daughter got me for Christmas. I also got this one, which I'm pretty excited about.
Oh, the Zoltar. Well, that's so funny because on that arm, I have a Back to the Future tattoo on one arm and the Zoltar tattoo on the other.
No, it's so good. That Zoltar tattoo is beautiful.
That's my favorite. So, yeah, I don't know. I suppose it depends on how it ends, because if this whole virus thing ends with everyone saying, okay, we've managed to slow the spread currently,
right,
and only 20% of people have had it, but now we're going to increase, the social distancing measures are going to be relaxed, and we're going to, because essentially either there's going to be a vaccination and then nobody can get it, or enough people are going to get it that there is this herd immunity, and it means that it kind of won't spread as fast, because maybe you'll meet 10 people in an hour, but 7 of those people will have it. And so if they meet the one person that got it, they won't give it to you because they couldn't get it, it won't bounce around as fast. Or things will just be calm. I suppose there's a million ways out of this situation, but the levels of remaining danger of it flaring up again are all different based on how we exit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think people's attitudes towards what they're willing to do will change. I mean, I suppose as far as we go, as entertainers go, I think it'll be okay, because, you look at like the First World War, the Second World War, all of the different sort of catastrophic world events that have happened that have totally put life on pause for years.
Right.
The Second World War lasted for 6 years from our side. 1939 to 1945, but after that, imagine life being put on pause for 6 years.
Right.
Think about, like, say you're 9 years old at the beginning of that. By the time this thing is over, you're now you're a middle teenager.
Right. So
much of your life passes in that time. 6 years is a long time, and at the moment, we're talking about a couple of months before this thing could be, passing by. So I think things will survive. Like, people want entertainment now more than ever. YouTube and people doing live shows and Facebook live events and creating content videos, like more people than ever are signing up to TikTok and all of these different things.
Right.
I think if I'm worried about anything, it's that people are becoming so creative with making funny videos that they'll realize that they don't need us anymore. They used to rely on professionals to get their laughs.
Right.
And that already happened on TV. Look at television. All of the presenters used to be people who became famous by performing stage shows.
Right.
I don't know who the American equivalents are. But, the main presenters were people that were famous through theater. They got on at television. They became famous faces and presenters. And They were the people that did every single show on TV.
Yeah.
And slowly, that's already been moved to the side because of all of these reality TV shows that take regular people, put them in some situation where they live in a villa and they either fall in love with someone or they don't, or they put them into this competition where they have to become a great chef or whatever. And at the end of it, those people who didn't go into that show with any perceivable or any necessary talent in order to be included in the show now are as famous as anybody else, and people like their personalities so much that now they're the presenters of everything.
Right.
So it already happened on that level.
Everything has become personality driven as opposed to talent driven.
Yeah. So maybe people will think, oh, we don't need to hire all these people because we're really funny and we can just watch TikTok videos together. Wow. And, all of the way that those things damage us, I think, is worse because it used to be this, like, everybody talks about the MTV generation in that, TV shows used to be a single cut might be on TV for 30 seconds.
Right.
And then all these music videos and things come along. And now the cut of any shot is never longer than 4 seconds.
Right.
So now when you watch a video that doesn't have cuts in it, it's almost unbearable. How slow does it feel when you watch anything that never cuts away?
Right.
And yet if you record your own show and you just record it on 2 cameras and it allows you every few seconds to switch between those cameras, it feels so much more alive immediately the first time you watch it. And so the problem is that people who are just making content for themselves at home using their iPhones or their Androids or whatever for YouTube and TikTok and things, because they can't do multi-camera edits because they're only recording on one device, the way that they've got around that is that now they only make videos that are 15 seconds long.
Right.
Now you go on TikTok, your average video is like 10 seconds long.
It's crazy.
So rather than making an hour-long special or a 30-minute TV show, you make 210-second videos instead. And people watch those, and they don't want to watch the same person. They want to watch 10 seconds of this stranger, flip the screen, 10 seconds of this stranger.
Yeah, it's become very voyeuristic.
Yeah, you can just lean in, look at that person's life a bit. Look at how quickly we get bored. You see someone whose video you like, you press their profile, you look at it for 10 seconds. Somebody that really made you laugh 5 seconds ago, enough to get you to click their profile. Now, you click their profile, nothing catches your immediate eye. You go back to the video that caught your attention and you scroll up and you don't even give that person a like.
I caught myself the other day. I was scrolling and I scrolled past a friend of mine who I love and who I respect as a performer created this great video. But I was just in the habit of scrolling and I scrolled right past it. And then I went, oh, wait a minute. Was that? I think I know that person. I went back. I'm like, oh, I love this guy. I can't believe I was going to not even watch his thing.
Dude, here's the perfect example. You sent me a really funny video 2 days ago about this cute house thing. Anyone who's watching it might have heard of it. What did I say to you in response to you sending me the video?
Yeah, you said like, holy crap, this is 7 minutes long.
Yeah, this is 7 minutes long. I'm not watching this.
Yeah. I'm like, it's really good. You're like, I made it through the first minute.
Yeah, like, I watched a minute. It was good. What now? Like, what am I supposed to do? If I'm going to watch anything for 7 minutes, I want to know exactly what I'm supposed to be getting out of it.
Right.
People just don't take a chance on stuff anymore like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The people listening to this podcast, they're not sitting down at home and listening to this in place of doing anything else. Like, if you're listening to this right now, hello, thank you for listening. If you came this far, you're a better friend than I am. But I guarantee right now, you're on a walk and you've listened to this by now. How long have we been recording for? What? It's 11:27 minutes.
An hour and 8 minutes we've been recording. An hour and 8 minutes.
I guarantee this is at least the 5th chunk of this you've listened to.
Right.
You didn't get this far in one go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not how people take in content anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think all things create, every action has an opposite reaction. Like we know that as being, and the same is true in entertainment. The more singular 10-second TikTok videos there are, the bigger the cult. It'll always be smaller, but it doesn't need to be. The more the cult following will develop that will seek out hour-long, 2-hour-long theater shows.
Yeah.
So they'll always be, like vinyl records that we talked about earlier, are not convenient. They weigh a ton. They cost a fortune. Every 22 minutes, you have to get up and turn the thing over. Like, it is not an easy way to listen to music.
And I have friends who will fight me over this, but the argument that vinyl sounds better is ludicrous.
Dude, all right, I'm going to take you to task on this in a second. I'll tell you why. Before we get there, there's a really good comedian in Britain called Stuart Lee. Yeah. And he's famous in a way that, is there like a cult comedian in America that like I wouldn't have heard of, but among people who love comedy, everybody knows who that is?
Yeah. Well, you would know like Mitch Hedberg, though. But he would be more cult. He's not mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, I would. But I mean, you know, a regular person.
Right.
Like as obviously as a comedy fan, like I love Mitch Hedberg.
Right.
Rice is great when you're hungry and you want 2,000 of something.
Yeah. And, they say don't eat more than 6 Advil. Well, then do not put a candy coating, for I cannot help myself.
It's such a good impression. The laundrette at 2 a.m. Sorry, we're closed. You don't have to be sorry. It would be ridiculous for me to expect you to be open.
Yeah.
So there's a comedian in the UK called Stuart Lee, and he says he's used to be super famous, and he's famous now among comedy fans. But he says in a thing that I read about him, you don't need 10 million fans. All you need is 10,000 people that are willing to give you $10 a year.
Right. Yeah.
That's all it is. Just need 10,000 people to be willing to pay $10 once per year for something that you made that they want to see.
Right.
That's a sustainable career doing nothing other than creating exactly the thing that you want to create.
Right. That's good. That's really good.
And that's how you find your cult audience. So those people will always exist, and entertainment will it's been over bigger hills than this and come down the other side just fine.
Right.
Like if you are a sort of a student or a history fan of vaudeville and music hall and entertainment, you'll know that it's always been described as about to die. Everybody always thinks that it's on its way out, and it never is.
Yeah.
Like Matt Ricardo, a variety actor in the UK, he says that variety isn't dead. It just changed venues. Like now it exists in different places.
Yeah, that's good.
And you can always find good stuff. You know, if you're the best at something as well, like there's always room at the top. It's the middle that's full.
Right.
I wholeheartedly believe that, you know, if you come along, like don't ever be disheartened. If you're an artist or a creative or you want to make something, don't ever be disheartened. The worst thing that you can do is, my dad always said this. He always said the worst thing you can do is moderate your opinion in the hope of making people like you, because you don't get to be yourself and people won't like you anyway. And it's the same with creating art. Like don't create what you think people want to see, because you just end up with trash. Like make exactly what you want to make. And if it's good enough, there'll be space for it. And if it's unique enough and it's really you, it'll find its own audience. That's the only way to win. Just make your thing and keep going.
And consistency of creating. Like realizing that, like create the thing you want, but realize that like, it's better. Here, I have a friend. I'm going to show you this graphic here. No one else can see this, but a friend shared this with me the other day. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
And it's the idea of like constant creativity. A lot of people think like, oh, I'm just going to create when I'm super inspired to create. And so over time, you just kind of make mediocre stuff, and every now and then you'll have something that's brilliant. But if you just...
So describe the graphic. Like the top one says creating when inspired, and there's like 3 peaks and 3 huge lows, but they're really spaced out.
Right.
Whereas the creating by habit one has a bunch of like low things that are terrible.
And a bunch,
way more things, way more spikes.
Yeah. It's got like 3 tiers. It's like worthless, like you spent your time on this, but it's worthless. Then the middle line is mediocre, and the top is genius from like a creative perspective.
I think a couple of things we could all do with learning or taking more seriously. Like I love that phrase about don't let the good be the enemy of the great.
Right.
Like, don't be put off. But the main thing is that if you make something that isn't very good, I don't think it really diminishes the stuff that you made that's great.
Right.
People because some people will never find it, and the people that saw the bad thing and didn't see the good thing, well, if they didn't see the bad thing, they wouldn't have seen anything. So who cares?
Yeah.
If they see both the good and the bad, then they'll see the good and they'll judge it. But if they only see the bad, it doesn't make a difference that it didn't exist, because those people didn't see a good thing anyway.
Right.
So they're never going to be a fan anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Just make stuff constantly. Just keep making the stuff. And don't get put off. I'll tell you about this vinyl thing, right? So quick.
I just know what buttons to push to get Mark to share some great things. So
I know, yeah. So quick audio science lesson. Essentially, compression. So say for instance, all sound exists between 0 and 100 megahertz. This is just a really, really basic. That's not the truth. But say between 0 and 100 megahertz. That graph, that waveform graph that we see sound imagine it like an echocardiogram, an EKG thing, or whatever like that. That's the sound.
Yeah.
Now humans can only hear the sound that exists between 30 and 70, for instance. And everything below 30 and everything above 70 is wastage, because humans can't hear it anyway.
Right.
And it takes up a lot of space digitally. So when they put music onto a CD or a digital form,
they compress it ridiculously. Yeah, that's also not
it gets
necessary.
Compressed. And so because it can't be heard anyway, it gets compressed, and it's no longer on the recording. So it sounds better to the human ear because you don't have all of that superfluous sound. But when they take a record and they press a vinyl, there's no compression.
Right.
So everything that was recorded continues to exist in the vinyl.
Right.
So whilst a human might say that a CD to them sounds better than a vinyl, it is not scientifically true that the sound that they are hearing is better than what the vinyl is.
Right.
But if you have a dog, your dog will be so happy because to them a vinyl sounds incredible.
Right, because they can hear stuff that you can't. Well, I was listening to a interview. Was it Jimmy Page? I think it was Jimmy Page. And he was like so upset about compression. Like he's on this mandate to like get the music industry to stop compressing stuff so much, because when iPods first came out, you had what, like a 100 gigabyte, or you had like a 1 gigabyte iPod or something, like when it first came out, or half a gigabyte. And now like what, you can get an iPhone that has, half a terabyte on it. And so he's saying like, it's not as big of an issue as it used to be. So like, why are we compressing it when we don't need to? Because we're losing so much of the sound.
Well, I'll tell you something, that they're already trying to take that out of a lot of digital kind of music. So are you, where can I find this? Like, do you have Spotify on your phone?
Yeah.
So if you take out your cell phone, I know you have Spotify, and open it up and go on your main screen.
Yep.
And up in the top right-hand corner, this is if you're on an iPhone, you got that little wheel.
The settings, yeah.
Yeah. And then scroll. If you click music quality, and you can select already there. You can have like automatic, which selects, it'll only play based on your Wi-Fi or whatever.
Right.
You can select to choose very high and very high download quality, and then you get the very best digital version of the music.
Oh, that's great. You've just made that. Yeah. That was worth this conversation.
There you go. So you didn't know that. You need like an audio file to tell you that sort of thing. You get obsessed with sound.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
That's
I'm always
fantastic.
The guy buying the new headphones, getting the new speaker for the record player. I want it to be like sound the best it can sound. I'm obsessed.
I'm one of those guys. I still enjoy just sitting and listening to a whole album. Like,
yeah. Oh, it's funny that, because I think that when you listen to a vinyl record, it takes music from being a passive activity to an active activity.
Right.
Because when you listen to, I guarantee, right, if you put some music on in your house in the morning, and after 6 tracks you press stop and you ask everybody else in the room to name the previous tracks they just listened to, they won't be able to do it.
Right.
Because the music just washes over them. Maybe they might be able to remember a couple if they sang along, but generally music just washes over people. It's just and it's fine. It's fine for it to be
it's ambient entertainment. It's things we just have in the background.
Yeah, it's okay for it to just be a thing. But if you really love music,
right,
and you want it to be an activity, for me, I think with a record, the fact that you have to turn it over after like 22 minutes,
right,
that means that you're not just going to sit there because it's going to go silent after 22 minutes. You've got to get
we have my wife's grandfather passed away a few years ago, and my mother-in-law just gave us his record collection, and it's all records from like the 30s and 40s. And what's great about it is back then they only had singles, so they'd have like a single song, and then you'd flip over the record, and it'd be the B-side track, you know. So what's cool to me is that we have this album full of records, but you know that he loved these songs because you would only buy a record. There's only one song or two songs on it, so you know that those are the ones he really loved. And
there was no other way to own music.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, because there's only one song on it, you know that he liked that song. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could, this was his collection of hits or whatever. And I love the fact that we literally put a record on and every, like, 4 minutes have to flip it over.
I think the fact that people don't listen to full albums anymore is partly the reason that the music industry has changed. It's a lot more throwaway than it even used to be, and it's always been throwaway. But, you know, the fact that, like, artists don't necessarily get famous now. Some do, but songs get famous. You know, people tend to listen to compilations. Once upon a time, you had to wait for a CD to come out where somebody else had chosen, here are the 20 songs that we think go together.
Right.
But now you take out Spotify and you choose your own compilation.
Right.
And even then, it was like a genre compilation, because you might buy a CD that had 12 rap records on, or you might buy a CD that had 10 pop songs on, but that's not really how people listen to music anymore. So if you look on my Spotify now, you're going to hear like Blink-182, Green Day, Paramore, but you're also going to hear like John Mayer, Ryan Adams, stuff like that mixed in. You're also going to hear Jason Isbell, Elbow. You know, you're going to hear like bands mixed in with pop records and grunge and R&B, and you're going to hear Eminem and, you know, NWA and stuff like that. And there would never have been a compilation available commercially that mixed all of those different styles of music together. So I think that, like, music is better now than ever if you love music, but I also think it's much easier to stay on the edges of it than it's ever been too. I think if you really got into music before all of this became available, it's so good for you now because you can find everything. The back catalogue is incredible. But if you're just getting into music, I don't know if people find something and identify with it as strongly and for as long as, like, I mean, I listened to Bon Jovi when I was like 10.
Right.
I don't like the phrase guilty pleasure because I think that is to speak negatively about things. It's shame.
You're shaming the band for making something that you love.
Shaming a thing that you like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
And why? Like, you would say guilty pleasure because it's not socially accepted.
It's not
popular.
It's not necessarily in line with the things that I enjoy as much now. But if it comes on, it's like weaved in nostalgia for me.
Yeah.
So I can have like that playlist for me, which is, you know, full of
this is a song for the broken heart.
That's it, yeah. So now I've got like Ryan Adams, John Mayer, Jason Isbell, Justin Townsend. That's like my chilling out, listen to the thing. But in the middle of that compilation, there's going to be a Bon Jovi record, and I'm going to be, you know, singing along to, I don't know, Bed of Roses.
Right.
And that'll be the one where I'll sing with the most passion, you know, that kind of. That's the thing. So,
you know what I thought might be fun is since we're all separate, what if we picked like an album and we said, okay, we're all going to listen to this and kind of like message about it or tweet about it, or, you know what I mean? Listen to this.
Someone else's music.
Yeah. Let's just pick an album and we're all going to listen to it at the same time.
Well, can we recommend albums for everyone to listen to right now?
Oh, that would be fun.
Well, I mean, I can, my recommends. I'll tell you what I'm listening to right now because someone actually messaged me about it the other day. This is funny, actually, because we're talking about how we think theater and things will change.
Right.
This is a perfect example because look at how the music industry has had to adapt to everything that's happened over the last, 20 years with regards to the internet. And, at first it was like Napster and things like that made it easy to get music sort of illegally and listen to whatever you wanted. And it wasn't always, people weren't paying for music in the same way as they always had done.
Yeah.
And then they come up with legitimate versions of those same apps that allow you to buy things. And now even Apple Music, which was like the instant way that I always bought music to use for my shows and things.
Yeah.
Now that's like a streaming service, the same as Spotify and all of that stuff. And yet the music industry has found a way to still find financial reward in creating and selling.
Yeah.
I think that actually, though, it's the artists are suffering, undoubtedly. A lot of artists complain about the remuneration that they get from Spotify and services like that.
Right.
But, I mean, for me personally, I think I find out about a person or Spotify recommends someone. I listen to it, I love it, and then I go and I buy that record. And so I still pay for the thing. Not everybody does that, but that's okay. So maybe we will suffer a little bit as artists in any huge change. But eventually we will overcome. And I don't know if you're the same as me. Well, I do know that you're the same as me because we talk about this a lot. I don't care about being rich. I just want to be able to do the thing that I want to do until I'm dead.
Yeah.
Like if all I have to do is the thing that I really always wanted to do, then I win. Like to not believe that is to misunderstand how happiness works.
Yeah. That's
maybe you could be happier if you were rich or whatever and you get to have a pool, or maybe you could have an above ground pool. It's still a pool, right?
Right. That's so good, man. That's so good.
That thing about Dave Chappelle, and he's like being my kind of famous. Is that what he says? Being my kind of famous is like having an above ground pool.
Yeah,
like, it's a pool.
Yeah, it's a pool.
But
that's good, man. So, dude, that's such a good thought to focus on and to remind ourselves that what the goal is. I was talking to Katie this morning, and I wonder there. I think we've all realized that there is kind of we're all a little more entitled than we probably should be, right now, especially in America. Like there is this idea of, Americans tend to be a little more entitled or think that they deserve something. And I wonder how much coming out of this, like having to deal with just like the essentials and, these are the few people that I'm going to be around, and this is the place that I'm going to be in, and this is the food I'm going to have. Will we come out of it and be in a different spot, or will we all just adapt and go right back to it?
Here's the thing, like being able to isolate, that is privilege.
Right.
The fact that you have a house that you can stay in and only be surrounded by the people that you basically want to be around, that's privilege.
Right.
Think about all the people, think about like communities in India who live, 12 people in almost doorway sized, there are like street, you ever been to India?
No.
Dude, there are like there's like rows and rows of what almost look like garages, but like half the size, and people are cooking out in front of them, and it's like street food.
Right.
But in the back, like 10 feet behind them, down this thin corridor, are 6 other people. It's their elderly family members, and they're sleeping on the floor in there.
Wow.
And they have like this, basically a garage that is their business in the front and their living premises in the back. Wow. And there's 12 people in there, and they're all living in rows in streets where they're being, their work is right at the front. They're cooking and stuff. And all of those industries, I don't know if they exist or not right now, but what is sure is those people cannot social distance. Like the ability to be able to do social distancing, that in itself is privilege.
Privilege, yeah.
Because there are a bunch of people that can't do that. And if economically you're at a huge disadvantage in that you're living in communal areas like that where you're surrounded by a bunch of people, this is a thing that even at our level of just general, like our performing ability allows us to be performers, but it only allows us economically to be performers to roughly the same degree as if we had a reasonable job. We're not like pop stars that, imagine if we had to get a real job, it would change everything. Like if I got a real job, I could basically buy all the stuff that I buy now.
Right.
I'm not like in my performing career isn't a million miles above if I got a good job.
Right.
And so, even at that level, the fact that we can social distance, we can be in our own houses, we still have plenty of room. That's privilege. Life is pretty good. And I think that you're right about being a little bit too entitled sometimes, in that we think that what we've got is bad because we don't know how bad other people have it.
Right.
The thing that is your nightmare right now is actually somebody else's like haven. The idea that you could just stay in the house for months and still be alive at the end.
Yeah.
And that you've even got a house to be in, and that you're still going to get food, and the government are going to give you some money so that you can continue to live. And, like all of those things, they're amazing. Yeah. I mean, so good, maybe we can reframe this nightmare. I mean, I don't think that because you're at home, you should feel guilty if you're not learning to do sign language and 6 languages and learning origami and card tricks and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Everybody is surviving this thing in their own individual way.
Right.
But if you are the kind of person who likes to use those skills and learn things, this is a great opportunity to be able to do that with no guilt. Like, you don't need to be guilty about the fact that you're not doing the thing that you need to be doing, because there's nothing that you need to be doing.
Right.
So go out, learn those skills, learn some stuff, make the best out of it, and come out of the other side better than you went in. If anything, by the end of this, I think that say if in a month they go, okay, that's it, 2 days, and we're opening everything up again, people are going to go, wait, can we get like one more week?
Right. Oh, now I just started watching Tiger King.
Yeah, like, dude, I'm on series 5 of The West Wing. Come on, give me a break. It is, when they finally say everything's going to open again, it's going to be too quick. People are going to want longer.
Wow. Dude, this so good, man. It's such a good perspective. I know we gotta wrap here, but tell people what they can do to see what you're up to. I know you've been putting some really fun videos online and stuff.
So here's my stuff. Here's the wrap up things. If you're looking for some music recommendations, and I don't know if you are, I would say Ryan Adams live at Carnegie Hall Deluxe Edition.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
Killer. It's the best recording of a live gig. It's one dude with a guitar or a piano, depending on what he's playing, and the recordings are like magic. It's crazy. Like, listen to them on your iPhone if you have to, but if you can get it on vinyl, listen to it on that. It's going to be better. Or otherwise, get some cool headphones or whatever. Listen to it. It sounds incredible.
Right.
So Ryan Adams live at Carnegie Hall is great. Jason Isbell, Southeastern, I'm listening to a lot. Also live at what's the place in Nashville? The big music.
Ryman.
The Ryman, live at the Ryman. Jason Isbell live at the Ryman is great. Paramore, After Laughter is a great album.
Yeah, it's good.
Justin Townsend, Midnight at the Movies. John Mayer, Where the Light Is, live in LA.
Oh, that's so good. That's a great
Killer.
album.
That recording of Gravity, the solo on that live recording.
If you can watch that, I know we're talking about music, but if you can watch the performance of him doing that, because he literally does an acoustic set, a trio set, and then his like pop stuff. He like opens for himself. It's like 2.5 hours or something.
I've got the Blu-ray of it. It's the best.
So good. I just made a Spotify playlist public that my buddy Tim Sheehan put together for me. He is like the biggest music dude that I know, and he posted on a thing the other day, and he said, if you're stuck at home and you want some new stuff to listen to, he said, just reply to this and tell me like 3 bands that you love, and I'll make you a custom playlist. And so mine is called Taylor Hughes Quarantunes on Spotify. Taylor Hughes Quarantunes.
Can you put a link to a Spotify playlist in the notes?
Yeah, I could probably do that. Yeah, send me the link.
So I'm going to make a playlist, and it's going to be called Mark James Songs I Like, and It's going to be linked in the notes of this podcast, and you can click it and you can listen, and I'll pick like 30 songs for you to listen to.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
Stuff I'm listening to.
And then that's how they can listen to some music. How can they see what you're doing?
So I got another recommend for you. God, we jump around a lot. So if you're looking for stuff to watch, because I just wrote this on a Q&A I did on Instagram. If you're looking for TV seasons to watch, Prison Break, still killer. Designated Survivor, great. Luther, British police thing. You seen that? It's so good.
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but I've seen about it.
Dude, with Idris Elba, it's the best.
Yeah.
Mindhunter was great.
Yeah.
Man, Unabomber, great. Suits, great. Movies, Prisoners, Moneyball, Spotlight, About Time, La La Land, Gone Girl. They're my 6 Netflix movies of the month.
That's so good.
Where can you see what I'm up to? God, there's a lot of information here. So my Instagram is Mark James Magician, and I post on there every day, multiple times, and I do Q&As all the time in my stories. My website is markjamesmagician.com. My TikTok is Mark James Magician. My Facebook page, if you search Mark James Magician with no spaces, you can find that there. Basically, anything that exists that is a social media platform, if you type in the words Mark James Magician with no spaces, I'm going to be there.
That's awesome, man. Dude.
That's how you find me. Oh, and YouTube too. I have a bunch of stuff on YouTube, which is there too. And I do like instructional videos. I did one the other day of how to make Big Mac sauce.
That was super fun, man.
Yeah, I do.
Your son Joshua made a cameo in it. It's pretty great.
That's right, yeah. And I did I did weekly vlog.
And if you think Mark is
diaries.
British, his son is super British.
Oh, he's so British. Yeah, his accent makes you laugh. He sounds like a
Daddy,
Harry Potter
Daddy.
yeah, he's very. His accent sounds very British.
Don't understand why Big Macs aren't available, Daddy.
Oh, it's like he's in the room.
But why, Daddy?
Why aren't you in bed? It's almost midnight here.
I don't want to go. Now I sound like the guy from Monty Python. I don't want to go on the cart. I feel happy.
Monty Python, there's the thing.
Oh my goodness. I just introduced the girls to it. They love it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Buddy.
Did we miss anything? What did we even talk about?
Who knows, man? We talked for an hour and a half about stuff. Here's the thing: we do this every day. This is just us letting people listen to one of these conversations. But this happens every day. If you'd like to hear more of this, just tune into our phone calls that we have while we go on long walks.
Us, yeah,
just do it.
Get us hacked.
Everyone's doing it.
I rant about everything constantly.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I'd tell him one day he should do that publicly, but
even in this chat, I held back.
Yep.
Because in real life, I swear terribly, and I say everything's bad, and I'm a horrible person. And on podcasts and things, I'm so positive.
No, you're so sophisticated though on podcasts.
No, I'm not sophisticated.
All right.
What old balls.
All right, buddy. I got to run. Friends, thanks for listening. Go check out Mark James Magician on all the things. And stay safe, stay healthy, and keep smiling at people when you see them very far away.
Thanks. I got to say thank you to you two for still creating so much great high-quality content to help people get through this thing, because you were doing this before, and you already had a full schedule of making stuff, and now you're making even more stuff. I don't know how you have time to do anything.
Oh, well, I'm not flying around the country anymore, so...
Between this and eating Twinkies, you must never go to bed.
No. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man.
All right, man.